Hey you guys, it's Mage Class Wars Finals for August 2015. We're in the West Coast section, and I'm just setting up my resistances, putting all my crystals in. I'm up to 2500 reduced res, which is totally crazy. I think the only other player that probably has as much reduced res as I have is Lala. I think she also has 3 level 9 crystals and full expert, so 5 expert dimensions, and then I think Ray would have the next most, probably has 5 expert dimensions, and then 2 level 9 will crystals and a level 8. Even so, Ray was still hitting super hard. We'll get to her fight later. Sorry that this is probably going to end up being uploaded a little later than I would like, but I do have some guests coming over, so we'll see what I can do about getting all these Class Wars videos and stuff out. I do try and be a little bit more prompt about them than I used to be. Here's Ariel, and this turns out just to be maybe the most fun Class Wars I've seen in a long time, since, like, you know, the beginning it was really exciting and everything, but this was really fun. Of course, last month was really nice because I won and everything, but as far as just the sheer gameplay, I think this was the most entertaining, at least in a really long time, because of the threat of so much dark resistance. Everybody was protecting against dark pets, and also definitely the people contending for first place, or you know, definitely top 3 were protecting against Odin, which is dark and light resistance. You do need them relatively even and quite high, because Odin will attack the weaker of the 2 elements, dark or light, and the weaker of your 2 defenses. It's very nasty that way. So yeah, so first pet is a water sylph on my opponent. I decided to go with the Poseidon, so I've dropped my HP quite a bit. My P-def goes down a little bit, my M-def raises because of the water passives, and I had a lot of fun with the water pet. It's, you know, it's definitely not a pet that I think is meant for single PvP. It's really, you know, a group support or something like that, but I tried to turn it into a single PvP sylph, and I think it's better in things like Battleground, where you don't have the Sylph troops, but at least in the Class War setup, it was a little bit difficult with the Sylph troops against people who have higher survivability, and also maybe just their troops have higher not resistances, just better gear and maybe more HP and something. It took me, I thought I would be able to kill off any troops with a Tsunami, which is an AoE, and the Delphic. Turns out that isn't the case against Lala and Ray, and so that made it a little bit more difficult. And here's Kavla. She has an Electro pet, one of 2 Electro pets that we see. You know, I wouldn't say a water pet is, you know, a genuinely, like, novel idea, especially since there are 4 of them in this finals. But I think everybody knows that regardless, people aren't going to protect against water very much. So even if you know that your opponent, you know, I knew that Shady was going to bring a water pet again, and even so, I didn't put any water resistance in. So I think even if knowing that somebody's going to bring a different type of sylph doesn't necessarily mean that you can protect against it, because I don't know when I'm going to face Ray, I don't know when I'm going to face Lala, Chili, or Solara, and so I don't know when I need to put on a different, when I can put on a different resistance until I face all of them. And so for me, I wasn't able to take down any of my light, dark, or wind protection until I faced those people. Here's Arlie, who ended up bringing one of the few dark sylphs, and so definitely don't see nearly as many dark sylphs as we usually do. Arlie has pretty good reduced res. I think she has 2 or 3 level 8 will crystals, which is more than most. I would definitely recommend for anybody who has an excess of bound balance and doesn't necessarily know a good place to use them, if you have low will crystals, the wild shop is a good place to use them. And she actually brings a BL. You know, there are a few players who bring Blessed Light, and I just never bothered with it. I also didn't bring my U-Demon again, which is a choice that I like, even though it drops my BR and everything. And this time around, I didn't go to timer other than my fight against Lala, so I think the tiebreaker didn't matter that much because everybody's resistances, just how it worked out, everybody pretty much went for kills. So I think it was not super necessary for me to drop my kid, but I kind of like it better without the kid, honestly. At some point, I really need to do a class wars with a U-Demon with my Battle Oracle, but at least this time around, I didn't go with it. And here's Ray 7, and I mean, with 2000 win resistance, I don't think there's really any way I could have gotten away with a win against Ray. Even if I had, you know, gotten a water sylph with a bunch of heals on it and then dropped my sylph troops, I think I would have struggled to win on the timer that way. And I was really hoping that this water sylph would deal more damage than it does. So I end up putting up my Guardian Rune as soon as possible. I knew that Ray was going to be dealing a lot. I only have a little over 2000 win resistance, and so I'm definitely weaker against Ray than I am against the Odin players like Chili. And well, Chili doesn't end up bringing Odin this time around, but Solara and Lala still do. So Ray dealing a ton of damage. Try and get that Snowflake out and a heal. I managed that much, but I'm not killing her troops, which is really pretty frustrating. I really doubt that she has water crystals on, so I don't really know. I mean, maybe she could have heard, oh, Elia has a water pet on, throw some water crystals on, but I don't know what she would... Well, I mean, Ray's biggest concern is probably Odin, and so she probably did too light, too dark, the way that I did for dimensions. So I mean, possibly her fifth dimension was a water one. I highly doubt it, but you never know. So here's the second Electro pet, Fear, and again, not much I could do. I have minus 200 Electro resistance, so the moment I see these Electro pets, all that's running through my head is just, I need to win as fast as physically possible, hoping for a stun so that I can hopefully just wipe them out with a Sylph mode run. And Fear somehow gets into Sylph mode quickly enough that my Medusas don't get to her. I decided to be really aggressive with steals on Medusa. Usually I'll do like the 30% damage buff or something with my support Medusa, and steal on Queen Bee or on my Goddess of Prosperity. But this time around I do both the steals right off the bat on both of them, so that hopefully if I get a stun on my opponent or something, that I can really punish them with the steals and keep them out of Sylph mode as much as possible. Here's Smartass, and I know she's not playing this time around. She's just AFKing, and I think for her, I think just getting into Warlord's Hall is enough, and so she's just chilling out this time around. So I try and make it quick. Smartass and Shady are good buddies of mine, and they always help me out too. So they'll be sitting. Probably at some point in this video, you'll see a little Skype on the left-hand side, part of my Skype, and they will let me know if there's anything crazy going on. Which it was such a zoo in here. I mean, it was just literally, I think every single sylph that could be used, or at least, okay, not every single sylph, but every single element that could be used, other than just pure light, was used in this evening. So I think just that alone is amazing. You know, nobody's really willing to dare to use wind other than Ray, just because, you know, the top players protect against wind, and so if you don't have Ray's caliber of BR and reduce res, it's a little bit hard to also be a player that uses a wind sylph. So Lara also has a red wind sylph that he could use. I think he used that in prelims, but decided to go with Odin this time around, which I don't think is actually a bad choice. Odin is very OP. There's something about it. I don't really know how to explain it, but I think the passives alone on it are just very nasty. And here's Shady. Actually, against the other water pet players, well, Ariel had that first one in the beginning, and she didn't fare as well. But I think she has lower BR or something. But against Shay and later against Asher, I have really pretty long fights. So I think water versus water ends up going for quite a while. Shay also gets a bunch of stuns on me. This is one of two, I think, that he successfully lands. And so that was pretty annoying. But yeah, I mean, as a top player or somebody trying to contend for the top, I mean, you don't really want to lose to somebody who brings a, you know, quote-unquote surprise sylph. But I think at the same time, you really can only protect against your biggest rivals, so it's still really just a battle just to get enough resistances to compete at the top. I have level 10 resistance crystals in, so I mean, it's really as my resistance is as high as it's gonna get. And yeah, there's the second stun. So I was a little bit concerned here. I didn't know how much damage that he was dealing or whatever, and I should be able to win, but I had a feeling it could possibly go to timer, which I didn't want. Here I think I get a big thunder on him. Boom, yeah, 601k thunder, and that's because of my reduced res. That's a huge part of it. Also because of the damage bonus. But yeah, really just fun fights. I think it was just maybe just really entertaining because it was the novelty of it. Even with my friends, you know, mentioning who had what sylphs, it still was just sort of, you know, you really didn't know what was going to happen. And I definitely had some closer fights than I thought I would. You know, I didn't think that Asher would be as much of a contender against me as he was, and we end up having a really close fight. Here's Gruntar, another one that I think is sort of just sitting back, you know. Grunt has had multiple times where he kind of just doesn't compete super hard as far as, you know, caching goes or becoming, you know, one of the top people to contend for Mage Class Wars Finals, or, you know, taking the title, but I never really know with him. I'm always really happy to see him sort of move up. You know, he was one of the people who was winning a lot toward, you know, the first, you know, year of Class Wars or something like that. And so if he makes a go of it, I will most definitely cheer him on. But yeah, big time dark resistance, so he's not really doing much. Yeah. 3,800 crit there. So how many dark pets have we had? Probably, I think 3 or 4. We might be done with dark pets now. Changing out my resistances to have a little bit of fire because I heard that Chili had a fire pet, and I know that there are some fire pets. You know, I sort of keep track of, you know, who I've fought and try to think about, you know, who I still have left, and you know, Tyr is still in the bunch and Chili is there, and so I knew that he was gonna have a fire pet. So rank wise, Ray is in the lead. Maybe Lala doesn't have her kit on. I forgot if she brought it or not, but is lower than Ray in BR. And here's Asher. A lot of people dropping the U-Demon. They didn't really do that last time around, so I don't know if they're just taking a cue from, you know, not wanting to lose on the timer, or if they're worried about chaoses or anything like that. But whatever it is, I think there are at least a few people who decide not to go with the kit this time around. Let's see here. Oh yeah, I told Asher, you know, he and I had been talking before Class Wars, and he says, "Oh, I'm gonna do something extreme or whatever," and I thought he was gonna go with Electro, honestly, when he said that. I didn't think he was gonna go with Water because we'd both talked about bringing Water pets at one point in the past, so I didn't think that that was at least a surprise for either of us because we had already discussed it. But he did go with Water, and this is pretty fun. He didn't evolve his, so his is just a Triton, but it fares quite well against me. And Asher's stats are pretty solid, so I think he has BR wise can still be very competitive. I just didn't think resistance wise that he was going to be. So he actually gets my troops before I get his. I'm feeling pretty worried about damage dealt also. He just seems to be dealing more than I was. But the big advantage I have here are the passives. So this is the difference between, this is basically the advantage I got because I had Poseidon and not Triton, is that I have Divine Howl and Divine Wrath, and I don't think it's Divine Howl, I think it's just called Howl or something like that. But two passives that help me with gaining back some awakening points and taking them away from my opponent. And then I also have, I forgot what the passive is called, Water's Heart or something like that. But basically it makes me lose awakening points more slowly than otherwise, whatever the norm is. So one more water hit, and then I'm in big trouble because he gets this. He gets an ice bolt out, and then he gets a Delphic as well. No stun, which would have helped me a lot. Down to 145k HP. Oh, but I get a nice crit and manage to beat him with a simple Mage lightning bolt. So that was very, very close. I really felt like I was gonna lose. I was in big trouble, but still managed. Again, no water resistance. So here, Ray in the lead, Lala tied up with her, and then Chilimac and myself also tied. And here's Lala. Her server really due to Lala. I mean, she has some very strong players on her server, and they tend to be very strategic. So I think they really tend to be the types to plan things out well. We faced them in cross server GB one time, and they seem to be very put together. But even so, I think you can credit a lot to the fact that Lala is so OP. They won Chaos War, and then Lala also won Titan War with her team, and then she does very, very well here. And so really just impressive stuff. And but she goes with pretty, at least basic troops. You know, I think when you're in Lala's position, which is a similar one to what I had last month, that you're at a big res advantage compared to most players, and you also are the favorite to win, or at least one of the favorites. I think between Ray was looking much better in prelims, obviously, but still, you can never really count Lala out. I think it's easier to just go with a no-fuss build. You know, here, I mean, using a water pat on my part is just desperation, because I can't win with a Heck 8. There's too much dark resistance floating around. So I pretty much had to do this just to even do anything. So Odin's still doing quite a bit. I have, you know, my dark and light resistances are my highest resistances that I brought, and she's still dealing quite a bit of damage because of that huge reduce res. So I get a big crit on our kid though. Not kid, Sylph Troop. But that Snowflake really does help. Surprisingly out of Sylph mode before she is. I think that's maybe because her Medusa lived long enough? Oh no, she got into Sylph mode later than I did. Scratch that. Managed to get my Guardian rune out before that last Sylph hit, which helps. Could have really used a stun here, but that was a no-go. One good thing is I am able to get into Sylph mode before her, so I thought maybe I could get a few good hits on her since it looked like we were going to time her. She does get a Guardian rune out, and even so it looked like she was dealing more throughout the fight than I was, so she does have the advantage at a tiebreaker. I think Lala is the one fight where I thought maybe had I taken a different strategy with my water pet, that I might have been able to win. I might have been able to throw away my Sylph troops and just heal. And so if I put some heals on my water Sylph, maybe I could have outlasted her and done better at the timer had I not had any Sylph troops. So that's an idea. You know, Ashura had used that before and had some success with it, but he was also at a huge BR advantage compared to the other players around him when he did that, which is something that I don't have against Lala and against Ray or Chili or Solara. So yeah, plenty of different strategies you can go with, but I at least tried to be aggressive. You know, I didn't set up this water Sylph to be a defensive or a buffing tool or something like that. I really set it up to try and kill people. Here's my buddy Solara. And he has an Odin. I don't think as fancy of an Odin as Chili Mac or Lala has. I think it's few stars or something like that. Actually, I don't know how many stars are on Lala's, but I think Rono and Chili have the biggest Odins. They have red ones. Here Solara, I think, could make a much better go of it if he had better reduce res, and that's pretty much why I counted out Chili and Solara out of the top 3 this time around. Mostly just not because they don't have great BR, big Odin that could, you know, fare very well here. I think it was mostly just because I felt like they wouldn't be able to overcome the resistances with their reduce res. So, you know, I've talked to Chili. I haven't talked to Solara recently, but I should probably nudge him to get more reduce res because I think that would help him a lot. But definitely Chili understands now that he needs to get on the reduce res train and really up that. I think Chili would have fared very well here had he had, you know, a couple level 9s like Ray or all level 9s like Lala and myself. So managed to win against Solara without too many difficulties, but he did hold up alright. Here, just adjusting my resistances again. Didn't quite get it finished, but I have a general idea of who I'm facing. I was trying to get some more fire resistance because I don't know why I didn't act on that more quickly here. I only have 3 fire crystals in, and so that's not a great thing against Chili Mac with a fire pet. So this is definitely the fight for 3rd place. Chili and I have been tied up, both losing to Lala and Ray, so I knew I needed to win this. I thought it would be a little bit easier than it was, just because there's a natural resistance advantage since I have a water pet and he has fire on. But even so, there's his Odin troop. I guess there's no point in leaving him out of the picture. I probably would have given the Odin to the U-Demon though. Definitely against these bigger players with the, you know, that I don't have good resistances against. Try and get that Snowflake and my Guardian rune out ASAP. Oh, but that does huge damage. And he almost is about to get his Delphic out, and I don't know if it's because I was able to take some awakening points away from him with my passives, or if he just really didn't time it well enough and didn't have enough awakening points for his Delphic in general. So not totally sure there, but he was able to get his Delphic in, and so I had enough time to get my heal run out. So really just trying to get a kill here, or at least deal a ton of in-sylph damage, so that if we do go to a tiebreaker, I'd be alright. And through his Guardian Rune, I think I managed just enough. Oh, and my Sylph ends up killing him with the simple Sylph attacks. It's kind of funny. But yeah, I managed to kill. So again, you know, things really not going to the end of the timer. You know, I think the one against Lala was the only one. I think this is the last of the dark pets. Euphoric usually brings sort of odd troop choices. Of course, the Poseidon seems sort of natural, but I'm always surprised to see an Athena as a support troop. In prelims, it makes perfect sense to have a BR advantage, but actually now the Sylph troops don't really matter. You just, if you're looking for highest BR, you just put your highest BR supporting or non-main Sylph onto your U-Demon, because they don't count the Sylph troops anymore. Sylph troops are just support and they don't count towards the ranking BR. So I think that's third to last fight, maybe? Alright, so now I definitely adjust. I know that I'm going to be facing Tyr at some point, and so I put some more fire resistance in. There's no point in risking a loss. And so here he is. He puts a dark pet on his kid, which I don't think, unless he's just trying to have as much BR as possible to try and beat out somebody in like a tiebreaker in the rankings. I'm not sure that's a great choice, just because everybody's dark resistance is so high that kid isn't going to be doing anything to us. He's not dealing much damage in class mode either, which I find sort of surprising because, well, I do have a lot more fire resistance now. That must be it. So his reduced res must be not so high. Managed to get a stun. And so here I can get super aggressive, use Ice Bolt, which is single target. There's no other targets that I can hit, so that's very nice. So that's how I wanted all the fights to go, is I stun them, I go into Sylph mode, I hit a bunch of water attacks, and voila, I win. But of course that's a little too ideal. Here I have a moment of panic. For some reason I thought maybe somehow Chili managed a win against Ray or against Lala, and then all of a sudden I felt like, oh, maybe we're gonna end up having tied wins or something like that, and I just felt like I needed to boost my BR. So I scrambled around and tried to make my BR as high as possible so that hopefully I would be above him in the rankings. I don't know why I thought that. I should have known better. I generally knew what the results would be, but yeah, I just had a moment. And so I scrambled to put my Hecate back on, and then I put my Medusa, which had the second best gear that I have, onto my U-Demon, so that would boost my BR. So I did. So Panda does make an appearance at Class Wars Finals, but only for one fight. Even though it was only one fight, I was just I don't know. I think after using a Poseidon that whole time, I was just sort of was really relaxing using a Hecate, just because I'm so much more used to the skills and everything. It's much more comfortable still for me. So that wraps things up, and final result is Lala goes undefeated with her Odin, and then Ray comes in second, and myself in third. So big congrats to Lala and Ray. I think Ray was really going for the win and just missed out a little bit, and Lala's really just cleaning house. Just has had a really amazing performance this month. So a big congrats to her for all the success. And that was Robin speaking to me. I was saying to Robin, oh, she placed 5th this time, which is her best placing, and I said, oh, you're gonna get the thieves on our server at some point, get the fancy announcement and everything, because I'm having a tough time just keeping up with my competition, and she was saying that the archers are like the minor leagues. I think the archers are so hard to guess. I don't think anybody was necessarily thinking, oh yeah, Osri's definitely going to get first again, but he did, and so he continues to have some insane number of Class Wars wins, and Cypress gets his second as well, and Lala is of course our winner. And so get my rewards. For third, I do get the Nether Lichen for a few days, and then I get 4,200 crystals, which is not bad. Oh, I didn't spawn the thieves. I was just thinking about that yesterday. Looking at this footage again, I'm like, oh, I forgot to put those out. Whoops, my bad. And so then for the shop, I decided to go, I intentionally wagered. I didn't necessarily think I was going to win my wager, but I ended up getting a bunch of clamps, which is very nice. And shock and awe, my wife in-game ended up wagering correctly, so, thanks for the vote of confidence from my in-game wife. She bet on me getting third, which is kind of funny. But anyway, so I hope you guys enjoyed. Take care, and have a very good day.